poppin' people, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy OutofOrder. Welcome back to the tutorial series. This is where I teach you guys everything you need to know about After Effects. So if you saw the preview of the video, I'll be showing you how to do exactly that. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight on into the tutorial. Welcome to the tutorial aspect of this video, guys. As you guys can see, I already got some footage imported here. This is just some footage I recorded on my Canon M50. Pretty shaky, there's not much image stabilization on it. We can always warp stabilize it after. But anyway, we'll be using this clip for the tutorial. So without wasting much time, let's get right on into it. So the first thing we're gonna want to do is key out the sky or somehow, remove the sky. And there are many ways to do this. You can of course either mask it out or roto brush it. But for this instance, we're gonna try using the effect color range. So as you guys can see, we got color range over here. Now I recommend turning the little preview off for now, as we won't be needing it. You can also use key light as well, as I feel like key light works better in some instances, but for this case, we'll be using color range. So with color range, you're gonna want to click on this top eyedropper tool, and now what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to select the type of color that you want to remove. So we could just click anywhere on the sky, so like maybe right there. And as you guys can see, we already got a preview over here of what's being removed in terms of color. Now we can use the second eyedropper tool to add more color, so let's click over here maybe. And as you guys can see, we already got the sky pretty much all done. Now this last eyedropper tool is pretty different. It's not gonna like remove any color. It's kind of like what you want to keep in terms of color. So the ground, for instance, we don't want it to be keyed out, so we'll select the ground like that. And now that we got the sky selected, we just got to adjust some of these settings until we get our mask or our key looking nice. So we can of course increase the fuzziness right here. Now as you can see, it's kind of messing with the ground a little too, so if you want to, you could reselect parts of the ground like that maybe. And then of course these settings right here as well, you can adjust these too, so maybe something like this. Now it's okay if you accidentally key the ground out, because we can always fix this later. Now depending on your footage, this might take a while, but as you guys can see, I think we did a fine job with this. So these are my color range settings. Like I said, you just want to select the color with this eyedropper tool, select another color that's pretty similar that you want to key out with that one, and then select the ground or whatever you're trying to not key out. So that's what I did right here. As you can see, it's looking all right. Now the next effect I'm going to add is called FXAA. This is a completely free plugin. It's made by Plugin Everything. I use this on a lot of different keys, whether I'm keying out guns on BO2 or if I just have a green screen I'm working with. I usually use FXAA, just slap it on top of that because it's free and it does a pretty good job smoothing out the edges. So the next thing we're going to do once we have our sky keyed out is we're going to select our clip, right click on it, go to track and stabilize and click on track camera. Now you can do this before or after, doesn't really matter too, and you also might get a pop-up saying that it's only going to affect the actual clip and not any of the effects. It's still going to do the job fine, but we're going to just simply track the camera so we can motion track the sky in. Now I recommend doing this because a lot of people will just key it out and then they'll just slap an image in, but obviously it's not going to really be tracked, so it's going to be like moving around a bunch. So yeah, we're just going to motion track this really quickly. So now that the motion tracking's done, we're ready to move on to the next step. And if you get a red analysis solve failed error, there's not a whole lot you can really do about it. The best thing you can do is to just simply cut the clip up to only a smaller part of what you're trying to motion track. Or if you're editing something like a video game and the HUD is on screen or something else is on screen, like something really bad in the foreground, it's probably not going to track well. In this instance, because it's a really flat and simple video, it tracked perfectly fine. So now that our footage is motion tracked, let's edit the track right now. So what we're going to want to do is go onto the top, click on view, make sure layer controls is on. It's Control Shift H. You want to make sure this is on, otherwise you won't be able to select any track points. Now that we got our track points over here, we have two options. We can either just full on create a camera, or we can select a part really far away to where we want our sky to be motion tracked. So I guess we could just select some points back here, right click on them. Now you can either do a create a solid in camera or a null in camera. Both will work just fine, but in this instance I'll just do a solid just so you guys can actually visually see what we're working with. Now as you can see, we can just readjust it like this. Now the solid should be motion tracked. As you can see, it's still kind of close to the camera. Now what we want to do is we want to mess with the Z position and make it as far as possible, because the sky is pretty damn far. As you can see, that still seems a little too close, so we can make this something like, I don't know, 40,000 like that. Now, the further away it is, the less movement it's gonna have, which is kind of what we want. The sky is not really moving with like the foreground at all. It's like completely, behind the background. So yeah, just make it as far as possible to something like that. Now that we got that out of the way, we're ready to add our sky in. Now, the best part about replacing a sky is you can use really any image or any texture you want to use. It doesn't matter at all. You could just go on Google, search up like nebula, galaxy, sunny sky, cloudy sky, whatever you want. want, you can just use any image. So yeah, any image should work fine as long as it's pretty high quality. In this instance, I'll be using an HDRI. HDRIs are essentially like, they're pretty much skyboxes. Like if you know what a skybox is, it's pretty much an HDRI. So I'm gonna be using one of those. This is something I paid for a while back, so I'll just slap it in here. So once you get your image in, you'll notice right away that it's not playing correctly, because as you can see, it's zooming really closely, because in 3D space, it's pretty much right here at the default value. So if we go past it, it'll like completely clip through it, which is not what we want at all. So what we can do is go to our track solid, and if you remember earlier, we were making it really further back, and you can do this with nulls as well. So a null, a solid, whatever you're doing, once you do that, you're gonna want to make sure your image is a 3D layer by clicking this 3D box right here. If you don't have that option, one of these boxes will enable it in the very bottom corner, so just click on that, and you should get these options right over here. So make sure your layer is 3D. Once you do that, all you gotta do is just copy and paste all the values into the layer. And once you do that, you'll notice that it is extremely small. So we're gonna make that bigger and increase the size like that. You'll notice that it might clip through some of the edge. You can use effects like motion tile or repeat tile if you want to like expand it without like, you know, making the image better, but I don't really know why you would do that, especially in an instance like this. So we'll just let it play like this. It looks pretty damn good. It's pretty motion tracked on there well. Now you will notice that the floor right here is clipping. Like as you can see, because our color key, it messes up with the ground like a little bit. See, as you can see, it's keying out the ground a little. So the two things I usually do to fix the sky from clipping through the ground in an instance like this is we could just simply select them, mask it like that. As you can see, our mask is there. You want to give some extra room on the sides like that. So if we go to our mask over here, we can click on mask feather, and we can feather the mask out, move it up like this maybe. And as you can see, our ground isn't really clipped anymore. Now you will notice that it is still keyed out. So even though the image isn't underneath the ground, you can still tell that the clip is actually keyed out. So an easy fix would be to duplicate the clip right here. Just duplicate it like that, drag it underneath everything, and then just delete everything on there. So this is what it looks like without it. As you can see, our ground is being keyed out, and this is what it looks like with it. So that's an easy fix for that. So now we are pretty much done. That's pretty much the whole tutorial right there. As you guys can see, the sky is completely replaced. It looks perfectly natural. You know, it doesn't really look edited on, but you can of course always enhance it more. So if we want, we can add something like Lumetri color, you know, maybe S-tint, maybe even magic bullet looks if you want to. And then we can just composite it better here. So I feel like the highlights are a little too much, and I feel like we should increase the shadows just a little bit. Maybe lower the exposure more. And like I said, you can of course add tint, but I prefer S-tint. So let's add some S-tint on here. Change the color a little bit, make it more, I guess, appear more natural, even though it looks pretty good. Mess with the scales, you know, offset the darks. Something like that will look cool. So that's pretty much the end of the tutorial, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. That's how to replace the sky in After Effects. I'm not going to go into too much detail like color grading or any effects and stuff like that, since this is just a really quick tutorial on how to replace the sky. I don't normally do this method. Usually I'll use a plugin like Trapcode Horizon. So if I add Horizon on here, it's pretty much the same thing of what we just did, except you don't need to change the position on the solid or any of that stuff. All you do is slap the effect on and then just select your image layer or whatever. Pretty much the same result, except this one has a little bit more features in terms of like how you want it laid out. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the tutorial. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, guys. I make videos on After Effects and all sorts of other cool stuff, so be sure to subscribe for that. My editing Discord is also in the description down below if you want some extra editing help or just want to hang out in the community, as well as my socials, which are also down below as well. My editing pack is also in the description down below too if you want to buy my presets and project files. And with that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching again, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, boys. Peace out.